Hello, my name is Tommy Heffern and I work as a veterinary consultant. I also work with Netics on a range of programs and projects around animal health on farm. And I suppose today I'm going to talk through some of the training we've been doing around calf health, but particularly focusing on colostrum and looking at their product Colostrum Gold and how that fits in the calf health story. When we look at calf health, whether it be predominantly on focus on dairy or beef, we need to look at the systems that tend to be multifactorial for managing healthy calves. And that's what I've come up with in a lot of the training programs, is looking at each part of factors that influence calf health in a risk-based manner. Now, that sounds very serious, but that simple approach can identify what I call bottlenecks. When a calf is born, birth, colostrum, feeding, housing, all the way to weaning, there are certain management practices along the way that can influence that calf health and performance. If we can identify those and work hard on them, we can make a big difference. The focus today primarily is on colostrum and how we manage that as part of the overall system, probably being the fundamental for healthy calves and a healthy herd. But there is other areas. So I look at a simple traffic light system of identifying some risks on farm. And first of all is we need to have some targets, whether it be a dairy or beef farm, around weights, daily live weight gains, how many calves are dying, is mortality an issue, is morbidity an issue, the amount of animals that have been infected or sick. So we need to look at some records and identify is there risks on the farm. Then we look at our dry cows. Cows before calving can make management of our cow before she calves down has a big influence on calf health. Particularly if we think about colostrum quality, feeding, whether it be energy and protein, that colostrum brews in the udder for 7 to 14 days before calving. Even the calcium, managing milk fever. You know, calcium is a mineral that affects muscle tone, so that womb, if we slow calvings. And of course, vitamin or minerals like selenium and iodine, really important for calf health. So we look at calf health here before calving. Then we look at the calf in the first 24 hours. And I talk about looking through the eyes of the calf, walking through the calf's journey for 24 hours. Where they land into, is it a group pen, an individual calving pen? What's the environment like? Is it wet? Is it cold? Is there drafts? You know, when is the colostrum fed? How is it fed? Looking at the navel, how's navel hygiene addressed? So really talking about the first 24 hours for the calf. Where does it go? Is it going to individual pens? How is it transported? Is it wearing a calf jacket? All those sort of things, really important, and look for bottlenecks. I'm going to talk about in a lot of detail colostrum, but obviously there's other areas to calf health. Hygiene of equipment, hygiene of pens, hygiene of feeding, ventilation or fresh air in calf sheds, really, really key. Keep calves. Fresh air acts as a natural disinfectant. Looking at keeping beds clean, so fresh air at calf level, really, really important. A calf spends 85 to 90% of its time lying down, so fresh air at that level in corners of the shed, and looking at calves and using our senses like our noses to see what is the air like. Stress and dehorning, looking at stressful events in the calf's journey and see can we manage them better. Calf comfort, this is about heat and cold. Our calves born in early spring where it's cold, they need more milk, they need calf jackets. Looking at the environment the calf is lying down on, simple things like lots of straw and bedding to keep calves comfortable and clean. Feeding is critical to the calf journey. If you're feeding milk replacer, how does that fit in? How often are we feeding? What's the consistency like? Are we feeding calves enough? Are we getting the best results possible? And then looking at disease like pneumonia and scour, looking at vaccination and medicines timing, particularly vaccination and prevention, and then simple things like stocking densities in house. One of my best tools in my bag is a laser measure, working out volumes of for sheds, for air, for pens, really important. But for today I'm going to pull out and I'm going to look at colostrum. And everybody knows and has heard the colostrum story, but there's more to the colostrum story than the immunity and the fats and proteins. So a calf is born immunonaive, no natural immunity, and its mother or dam will transfer this naturally through the first milk of colostrum, making it a critical feed. Now on dairy farms we've very much taken control of that feeding process because we know how important it is. In suckler herds, we still are limited by the amount we can do, but we really can look at the dry cows or beef cow diet when she's dry to maximize colostrum quality. And I will talk about how Colostrum Gold actually has a role to play on some beef farms where there's issues and where I've seen it used very effectively. But for now, let's talk about colostrum. We really need to focus on the 3 Q's and C. Quality is so important. It's full of immunoglobulins, it's the first milk, it's naturally rich in fat and proteins. So we want the best quality colostrum we can. We do that by looking at feeding of cows, but we can measure quality of colostrum on farm using things like Brix refractometer, which is like a small telescope. This can really tell us what colostrum quality is like, because if it's not good quality, we must ask, is it the first milk? Should it be going into calves? And what is our diet like? Or this is where particularly the conversation about replacers becomes important, and that we actually, if we have poor quality colostrum, we need something that's of high quality. Okay, so measuring, feeding, the timing of colostrum is important as well. You know, it's making sure it's the first milk. So quality colostrum is key. We can measure that on farm. Quantity is next. Because colostrum, particularly in dairy cows, we've more volume, we've more dilution of it. Getting volume right is really important, and we want to make sure that all those antibodies and all those special things that are inside colostrum, which I'm going to talk a little bit about in a minute, are go into the calf in the right amount. So for a beef calf, it can be 2 to 3 litres if the dam's colostrum is good. But for a dairy calf, we talk about 8% of body weight, which is at a minimum 3 litres for a 35 kilo calf, up to 4 litres. And we're always suggesting that the calf gets another feed 6 hours after, so 2 feeds of colostrum. Quickly, so these immunoglobulins, or immunity the dam transfers to the calf, are large proteins in colostrum. And there's still a lot of research going on how the actual proteins are absorbed across the gut. But one thing we do know is the gut closes over time, not allowing these absorption of proteins in colostrum. So really, really important to get that colostrum in quickly to the calf. If that's a beef calf, getting a lively calf up and suckling. So if you have a calf that's down, slow, sluggish, hard calving, we need to be thinking about products like Colostrum Gold in that situation. But quickly is really important for a dairy calf, because the gut is closing down, and after 6 hours, every hour that passes, we're losing time. If we can get colostrum right, it's key to the calf health journey. So gut closure is important. One area where we always start missing on farms, particularly dairy farms, I would say, and even on beef farms, is cleanliness. We must remember, like, these are the little cells of the gut, like the lumen have got a tiny level. These proteins must go across the gut into the cells and be and absorbed into blood. If the calf's first feed is feces or dung, the first things that are going into the gut are bacteria. So we really need to get better at colostrum management. So in a beef cow, that is the environment that the udder of the beef cow is lying in before she calves is clean, because that allows for a clean udder and a clean suck for a calf. Even the underbelly of the calf is important. But for dairy farms where we harvest colostrum, we must remember colostrum is twice the fat, twice the protein of ordinary milk, meaning it's the perfect medium for bacterial growth. So cleanliness is really important, whether it's individual milk units, whether it's dump buckets, whether it's buckets in general. We need to have a cleaning process, and clean colostrum is really, really key. Now, people will talk about pasteurization, which is like heating colostrum at 60 degrees for 60 minutes. That works, but needs to be done really, really well. A lot of research is still going on about what effect that will have on antibodies, and it can work, but often it's not done right. I suppose the other thing about colostrum is people will have stores, particularly on dairy farm, and spare colostrum, and this is a real bottleneck as well. Remember, if you freeze colostrum, which is fine to do, if you thaw it out too quickly, you'll denature a lot of the elements of colostrum that are really important. And I'm going to talk about them because they're worth talking about on their own. You also have the risk of increasing another stage for getting infection. So storage needs to be really important. So if we can manage these 4 areas in colostrum management on farm, and I'll go on to farm and I look at these and assess them and talk through them, we can really make for better and healthier calves. Now, I just want to bring your attention to a couple of things here. And there's more and more talk about what we call early life programming. And this comes from infants, it comes from all sorts of species, that the colostrum these young animals are getting is key, not just to their survival in the short term, but particularly for the like of dairy heifers come into your herd, lifetime performance and production is influenced by it. So we always have heard about immunity in colostrum, which is really important, the fats and protein for energy, but there's also even more in colostrum. If we look at the constituents of colostrum, we talk about the lactocrine hypothesis or early life programming. The stuff that's in this colostrum is priming the young gut. So the gut of the young calf or the young lamb is not fully developed, And what's happening is you have insulin growth factor, these lactoferrins, relaxins, all these proteins in a really high concentration of colostrum, and fats in a high concentration of colostrum, that are actually playing at a microscopic level have a huge influence on the gut in the short-term development, but the future performance. So they're sending triggers to this young gut, getting it ready for the weeks and years ahead. And these bioactives, there's still a huge amount of research going on about them. So there's so much to the colostrum story that, you know, we talk about immunity, fats and protein, but it's these other agents that are there. Okay, so in situations on farm, we're going to have a challenge where quality is not going to be right. We don't have the right quantity. We need to use replacers. And I've been working with Netix, and I've seen their product Colostrum Gold, where it's come from, and it really is nature's best. It's real colostrum. And what I was really interested in it because it's the bioactives. Okay, so it obviously has the immunity, the fats and the protein, but it also has these bioactives, which is quite unique. Now this is sometimes missed as not a big thing, but all the research is saying this is a huge advantage for colostrum in general. And I will still say that, you know, farms should focus on getting the best quality colostrum, but that's not always possible. We will test a lot of calves, and we'll test blood test calves between 2 and 7 days of age, and we'll find that, you know, 10 to 15 to 20% of them don't get enough colostrum. So it's an area we can work on. But when you look at Colostrum Gold as a replacer, I suppose it's real. I've been on the farms where it's come from healthy herds. It ticks the 3 Qs and the C because it's bagged up clean, so it's ease of use. And it has all the hormones, it has all these lifetime performance agents in it. So it really is a complete product when we look at using a replacer. And some of the places where I've seen it used so far and working, talking to farmers and vets, is poor quality colostrum. You have a replacer there that gives you time to look at why is the colostrum poor. I suppose on, you know, that you have no colostrum. Some heifers, I was talking to a vet last week, they used it where there was no colostrum. A heifer was born with no colostrum, they did a section and it was used in. You know, if disease is a risk, some vets are talking to me about using it as a supplement there to Colostrum Quality until colostrum is managed better, and this really is down to pre-calving diets, but it really is an option there. And you know, in Ireland we have it seen using wilder animals that, you know, might have a weak or a slow calf and you can't milk out the cow. It's a really quality source of colostrum. You know, for a hard calving or a C-section, having this is useful. So I suppose, why is Colostrum Gold fit in with this story? Because it ticks the boxes on quality, quantity, quickly, and cleanliness. And it has all these beautiful agents in here, you can't even read them, that really are the future lifetime performance. It hits those nails because it is colostrum. Okay, so that is calf health. That is why Colostrum Gold fits into the calf health story. But it's really about looking at the areas that are of risk. If you pick out something like colostrum, you can see it's worth going through it. These are the future generation of our farm. Future performance and profitability and health are all down to doing a good job in this.